Language learning methods are innovating, and so should you. If you want to get from this,
voy a la playa con mis hermanos este fin de semana,
to this,
voy a la playa con mis hermanos este fin de semana. Okay.
then here are 8 exercises that you can practice to skyrocket your Spanish this year. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Nas, and here I speak all things language learning, where right now I'm documenting my road to fluency with Spanish. So if you want to learn and grow with me, then consider subscribing. Coming in hot as our number 1 is ChatGPT. I know you guys have been hearing the rave about ChatGPT for about a year or 2 now, but definitely I think a lot of us are still sleeping on it. And quite literally, persons are using ChatGPT to literally get fluent in languages, like in this day and age. Buy to language learning apps, buy to language learning lessons, because ChatGPT is the new AI language partner. And I mean, personally, I don't think it can replace those things I just said, but I definitely do think it can be leveraged as a powerful tool to, improve your language skills. You can literally use it as a conversation partner. And basically, you can just go to ChatGPT and be like, okay, ChatGPT, let's practice a Spanish conversation, or let's do a Spanish dialogue. And you can instruct it to correct your responses. And it's as if you're having a real-time conversation with AI. But if you don't want to do ChatGPT, then you can also do this exact same exercise with an actual person. This is something that I've been doing recently. I've done it with my sister to help her with her Spanish, and I've been doing it with other persons as well. And essentially how this works, it's in the name, alternate storytelling. So for example, I'll write a sentence, and then you will write the next sentence, then I do the other sentence, and we just continue as such, but we're actually telling a story. And neither of us knows what the other person's about to write. So we're basically trying to tell a story, but we're following the sequence of whatever the other person wrote. So we have to also understand what they said and then follow the story and make it make sense, and even make it an interesting story too. And what I do after doing that story is we read through it, we correct the mistakes, or if there were things that we found out if there were things that we wanted to say and we discovered in the writing that we did not know how to say it and therefore could not put it, then that would be the opportunity to jot down that phrase. That's something that you need to learn, and in doing that you're also practicing your writing. So definitely I think learning languages is not this one-man thing. I think there's so much power in having persons, having a language learning community of persons who you can do stuff like this with, because you'll definitely get a lot further a lot faster. Leverage reading. Now, reading is perfect for comprehensible inputs, and if you've been following me for a while, then it's not the first time I'm beating this drum, because comprehensible input is actually so powerful. And I feel like lots of times, by the way, if you don't know what that is, basically it's when you ingest a language through reading or listening to native speakers, and you're essentially learning that way. Mimic how babies learn their first language, and you use that method to learn your second language. So essentially what comprehensible input will help you in doing is actually learning how real-time, real-life spoken Spanish is, and you can eventually start learning how to mimic that, but particularly imitate how they speak. So their pronunciation, the common phrases that they use that maybe certain language textbooks don't really know. But I've even just read stories in Spanish or watched something in Spanish, and then I'm in a situation where I have to draw for a particular vocabulary that I was able to, pull out, and I'm like, wait, when did I learn that? And I'm like, it's because I read that book, or it's I learned it in that series. Pretty powerful how your brain can retain certain stuff, and then in the moments when you really need that knowledge, you can pull it out, and you're like, wait, I knew this. It's pretty cool. And reading is arguably the GOAT of language learning, so I've personally been trying to do it a lot more. And if you want to take it a step further, then you can also read stories, but challenge yourself to summarize each chapter, write it down, have a Spanish journal. In writing that summary, if you discover that, hey, I don't know how to say this, perfect opportunity to learn how to say that. So I did a video on this already, and I will link it in the description, but I actually got this idea from another YouTuber called Language Lords, and I think it's genius. So essentially, you have to tell something or talk about something that you know well and intimately, hence stories about your life. And essentially, you're recording yourself, whether video or audio, while you tell those stories. By doing this, you will learn the vocabulary of your life, so to speak, because essentially fluency is being able to speak about different things in different contexts, but it's most times we're using vocabulary that we use every day, that we know really well, but we're just able to apply it to different contexts, different stories and situations. This one isn't exactly an exercise, but it is something you can practice and something that I personally love to do when I speak with native Spanish speakers, which if you don't know how to talk to any, you don't have any contact with any, then the app Tandem will be your best friend. You can literally talk to language learners all around the world, native speakers who are also learning English, and it's like a mutually beneficial exchange. And what I do is I always say to them, okay, let's do this. You text me in English and I text you in Spanish. That way we're texting each other in the other person's native tongue and we can correct each other accordingly. So I would say set aside a specific time period per week to do this and practice this with your language partner, and it will go a long way in the long run because you will learn vocabulary, they'll correct your mistakes. So you know how with learning Spanish, a lot of us still struggle with translating in English in our head at the same time, while we're speaking, and it can affect our fluency. So literally something I came up with as a way to trick our brain, or I should say train our brains to do the reverse is, and you can do this, set aside a time, maybe certain days of the week that you do this as an activity, an intentional practice where you click on a video like a typical English speaking YouTuber that you love and would have watched anyways, but specifically you're going to watch them this time. And what I want you to do is, as you're watching them, try to force yourself to translate in your head into Spanish as they're speaking English, or even translates out loud. What you can do as a role play way of having fun with it too is pretend you're an interpreter. Pretend there's someone right beside you who doesn't know how to speak English, and you're the person that has to pretty much help them understand what that video is about. And in doing that, you'll discover the words that you don't know how to say in Spanish, which you will obviously then jot down and then learn for next time. And I think in doing this, purposely forcing our brain to do the inverse, training it to think in Spanish, then it will help us in the long run to start learning how to think more in Spanish, even unintentionally, when we're speaking English, and even just when we're speaking Spanish. Shadowing technique. So basically this is where you watch a native Spanish speaker on YouTube, and your purpose of watching them is to imitate how they speak, and basically pause every couple phrases and repeat what they said. And you can record yourself on another device, so you can go listen back to it and maybe even match it up to see how close you sounded to the person. So you're basically imitating their accent until eventually you're able to use the accent without intentionally doing it. It'll just be natural. If you're still working on improving speaking Spanish, learning and understanding the Spanish sentence structures and all of that, here's something you could try. Well, actually, just click the video on the screen right now because I explained exactly what this exercise is.